We met under a summer sky, vibrant and full of promise. Her laughter was like a melody, a tune I wanted to play on repeat. We spent hours talking, sharing dreams, building castles in the air with words of hope and whispered promises. It felt like destiny, the kind of connection poets write about and singers croon in dimly lit bars. Our dates were simple: walks in the park, picnics under the stars, stolen kisses in the moonlight. Each moment etched itself into my memory, a precious jewel in the treasure chest of our love. We built a life together, brick by brick, with shared laughter and whispered secrets, creating a world that felt impenetrable, safe, and uniquely ours. We were two souls intertwined, destined to walk hand in hand through life's journey. The arrival of our daughter was a symphony of joy. Holding her in my arms was like holding a piece of heaven, a tangible representation of our love. Her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, a silent promise of a future filled with love and laughter. She was the missing piece of our puzzle, the final brushstroke on our masterpiece. We were a family, complete and whole. The early years of our marriage were a blur of diaper changes, sleepless nights, and the constant hum of baby lullabies. But through it all, our love remained the steady anchor, the unwavering North Star guiding us through the choppy waters of parenthood. We navigated the challenges together, supporting each other, celebrating each milestone with a joy that only parents can understand. Our little family was a haven, a sanctuary from the storms of the outside world. The first cracks appeared subtly, like hairline fractures in a seemingly perfect facade. Late nights at work became more frequent, whispered phone calls behind closed doors, a growing distance in her eyes. I dismissed them as the pressures of work, the fatigue of parenthood. I chose to believe the best, to trust the woman I loved with all my heart. I started to notice subtle changes, a shift in her demeanor, a flicker of unease in her eyes. The easy laughter that once filled our home became less frequent, replaced by a strained silence that hung heavy in the air. The shared jokes, the inside references, the comfortable silences, they all began to fade, replaced by an unsettling distance that I couldn't quite explain. My gut feeling, that primal instinct we often ignore, began to whisper warnings. I pushed them aside, unwilling to acknowledge the possibility that the woman I loved, the mother of my child, could be anything but the person I believed her to be. I clung to the memories of our early days, the promises we made, the life we had built together. The truth, when it finally surfaced, was like a punch to the gut, a cold, hard reality that shattered my carefully constructed world. The whispers, the late nights, the averted gazes, they all pointed to a truth I had desperately tried to ignore. The woman I loved was having an affair, a betrayal that cut deeper than any knife. The foundation of our life together, the bedrock of trust, was crumbling beneath my feet. The moment she suggested an open relationship is seared into my memory. The casual tone of her voice, the nonchalant shrug of her shoulders, the complete lack of remorse in her eyes. It was a scene straight out of a nightmare. It was a proposal that not only defied the sanctity of our marriage but also the very essence of who we were as a couple. I remember the stunned silence that followed her words, the air thick with disbelief and a growing sense of nausea. The world around me seemed to tilt, the familiar comfort of our living room transforming into a foreign, hostile space. It felt as though the ground beneath me had cracked open, swallowing me whole into a dark abyss of betrayal and hurt. My initial reaction was one of disbelief, followed by a wave of anger so intense it threatened to consume me. How could she, the woman who vowed to love and cherish me, stand before me and utter such words? How could she so casually disregard the vows we made, the life we built, the family we created? But amidst the anger, a flicker of something else emerged, a sense of clarity. Her proposal, as outrageous as it was, revealed the true extent of her detachment, her disregard for our marriage, and the depth of her betrayal. It was a painful realization, but it was also a turning point. It was the moment I knew, with absolute certainty, that our marriage was over. The divorce proceedings were a blur of legal jargon, tense negotiations, and the constant ache of heartbreak. Every document signed, every meeting attended felt like another nail in the coffin of our shared past. It was a painful and protracted process, each step a reminder of the life we had lost, the dreams that had shattered. Gaining custody of our daughter was my sole focus. She was my anchor, the one constant in a world that had been turned upside down. I poured all my energy into creating a stable and loving environment for her, shielding her from the fallout of her mother's choices. She became my reason for getting up every morning, my motivation for fighting for a better future. The initial days of single parenthood were challenging. Juggling work, childcare, and the emotional turmoil of a broken marriage was a constant struggle. There were days when I felt like I was barely keeping my head above water, drowning in a sea of responsibilities and grief. But the love for my daughter, her innocent smile, her unwavering trust in me, kept me going. Slowly, painstakingly, I began to rebuild my life. I focused on my career, finding solace in the structure and routine of work. I sought support from friends and family, learning to lean on others in a way I never had before. The pain of betrayal was still raw, but I refused to let it define me. I was determined to emerge from the ashes stronger and more resilient than ever. Section 5. A Father's Love. My daughter became my priority, my reason for living. Every morning I woke up with a renewed sense of purpose, driven by the desire to provide her with the love, stability, and support she deserved. I became both mother and father to her, learning to braid her hair, bake her favorite cookies, and soothe her nightmares. We developed a bond that was deeper than anything I could have imagined. We shared secrets, told stories, and built forts out of blankets and pillows in the living room. We became a team, a two-person unit against the world. We found joy in the simplest of things, creating new traditions, new memories, a new life together. I watched her grow, blossom into a bright, intelligent, and compassionate young girl. Her laughter filled our home, her hugs were my daily dose of sunshine, her unwavering love my constant source of strength. She was the living embodiment of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, beauty and joy can still flourish. I made a conscious effort to shield her from the negativity surrounding her mother's choices. I wanted her to have a healthy relationship with both parents, even though her mother was no longer a consistent presence in her life. I knew that harboring resentment would only poison my own heart and potentially damage my daughter's emotional well-being. I chose to focus on the present, on building a positive and loving environment for her, regardless of the past. Section 6. The Downward Spiral. Over the years I heard snippets of news about my ex-wife. Her life seemed to be a series of unfortunate events, a cascade of bad choices and their inevitable consequences. Her career stagnated, her relationships faltered, her finances dwindled. It was a slow and steady decline, a stark contrast to the upward trajectory of my own life. The whispers became louder, the stories more detailed. Legal troubles, financial woes, a string of failed relationships. Her life seemed to be unraveling at the seams. I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness, a pang of empathy for the woman she once was, the woman I had once loved. I learned that she had been involved in a lawsuit, a messy legal battle that drained her resources and tarnished her reputation. The details were murky, but it was clear that her choices had led her down a dark path, a path of self-destruction and regret. Although part of me felt a sense of vindication, a confirmation that karma was at play, I couldn't bring myself to revel in her misfortune. The woman I had loved, the mother of my child, was struggling, and despite everything, a part of me still cared. I couldn't erase the memories of our shared past, the love we once had, the life we had built together. Section 7. Building a New Life. My career flourished. I found success and fulfillment in my work, a sense of purpose that extended beyond the walls of my home. I poured my energy into my profession, channeling my pain into productivity, my grief into growth. I became a respected figure in my field, a testament to my hard work, dedication, and resilience. I met someone new, a woman who brought light and laughter back into my life. She was kind, compassionate, and understanding, a calming presence in the storm I had weathered. She embraced my daughter as her own, creating a blended family filled with love and mutual respect. We built a life together, a life grounded in honesty, trust, and shared values. Our home became a haven, a place of laughter, love, and shared memories. We celebrated birthdays, holidays, and milestones with a joy that was amplified by the knowledge of how much we had overcome. We were a testament to the power of resilience, the ability to rebuild and find happiness even after the deepest of heartbreaks. I learned to forgive, not just my ex-wife, but also myself. I let go of the anger, the resentment, the bitterness that had weighed me down for so long. Forgiveness wasn't about condoning her actions, but about freeing myself from the chains of the past. It was about choosing to move forward, to embrace the present, and to create a future filled with hope and happiness. Section 8. Karma's subtle hand. I never actively sought revenge or wished ill upon my ex-wife. I believed that karma, in its own time and its own way, would deliver its verdict. And it did. Her life, once filled with promise and potential, became a series of missteps and misfortunes. It was a subtle but undeniable demonstration of the consequences of dishonest actions. I didn't celebrate her downfall, but I couldn't deny the sense of justice, the feeling that the universe had, in its own way, restored balance. Her choices had led her down a destructive path, a path of her own making. It was a stark reminder that our actions have consequences, that dishonesty and betrayal ultimately come back to haunt us. I learned that true karma isn't about revenge or retribution. It's about the natural consequences of our actions, the ripple effect of our choices. It's about the understanding that what we put out into the world, whether good or bad, ultimately comes back to us. My own life, once shattered by betrayal and heartbreak, had blossomed into something beautiful and fulfilling. I had found love, success, and happiness, not through seeking revenge, but through focusing on my own growth, my daughter's well-being, and building a life based on integrity and honesty. It was a testament to the power of positive choices, the ability to create our own destiny, regardless of the challenges we face. Section 9. A daughter's bond. My daughter maintained a relationship with her mother, albeit a strained one. I encouraged their bond, believing that a child deserves to have both parents in her life, regardless of the circumstances. It wasn't always easy, but I knew it was the right thing to do. As she grew older, my daughter began to understand the complexities of her mother's choices and their consequences. She saw the stark contrast between her mother's life and mine, the difference between a life built on integrity and one riddled with dishonesty. Our conversations about her mother were honest and open. I didn't try to paint a perfect picture or demonize her mother. I simply presented the facts, allowing my daughter to form her own opinions and draw her own conclusions. I emphasized the importance of forgiveness, not for her mother's sake, but for her own. Holding on to anger and resentment would only poison her heart and prevent her from moving forward. Forgiveness, I explained, was about letting go of the past and embracing the future, about choosing to live a life free from the chains of bitterness and regret. Section 10. The unexpected reunion. Years later, my ex-wife reached out. She wanted to reconnect, to rebuild a relationship not as romantic partners but as co-parents. She expressed remorse for her past actions, acknowledging the pain she had caused. I listened patiently, allowing her to speak her truth. I saw a flicker of genuine remorse in her eyes, a glimmer of the woman I had once loved. The years had weathered her, both physically and emotionally. She was a shadow of her former self, humbled by life's lessons.